An elected official, a sitting Speaker of the House, just said out loud that he hopes the Supreme Court overturns the 14th Amendment. Not a random guy on Twitter, not some fringe commentator, the Speaker of the House. And if you don't know what that means for you, for your grandmother, for your mother, for every Black person in America, sit down. Because I'm going to break this all the way down for you, one step at a time. Nathaniel Ledbetter, Alabama House Speaker, Republican, said this out loud in a press conference right after Alabama passed a redistricting bill that courts have already ruled discriminates against Black voters. He said, and I need you to hear his exact words, "All we need now is the courts to overturn 14, and we can look at the election." He wasn't talking about a small technicality. He wasn't misspoken. He said what he said. And here's the thing that I think people are missing the most. This wasn't just about elections. The 14th Amendment is the floor of your rights in this country. You pull that floor out, everyone falls.
Hey, y'all. So they finally said it out loud on camera with their whole chest. Alabama's House Speaker Nathaniel Ledbetter stood in front of the press after his state passed a redistricting bill and said, and I quote, "I certainly hope the Supreme Court will overturn Amendment 14, end quote. I need you to understand what he means. You see, the 14th Amendment is not a technicality. It's not a redistricting footnote. It's the amendment that made Black people citizens of this country after 250 years of enslavement, ratified in 1868, written in blood. It says you are a citizen. It says you have equal protections under the law. It says no state can strip your rights without due process. It is the legal spine of every civil rights victory we have ever won. And Ledbetter hopes the Supreme Court throws it in the trash. That's not a redistricting argument, ladies and gentlemen. That's a declaration. See, they're not hiding under their white hoods and robes anymore. They are not dog whistling. They are standing at a podium saying, we want the amendment that made you citizens gone. This is happening right now in real time, 2026. And the only thing they're afraid of, the only reason they want to erase that amendment is because they know what we do when we show up. So show up. And remind every Black and brown person that voted for this. Jim Crow had a hood. This version has a law degree and a press conference.
Did this man just say that the 14th Amendment birthright citizenship was only meant for the babies of slaves? Let's talk about the history behind the 14th Amendment and why any discussion and debate around it should honestly be concerning for us all. The 14th Amendment was passed by Congress in 1866, and then it was ratified 2 years later in 1868. And no, it wasn't written to protect the babies of the formerly enslaved. It was written to correct deep injustice. After the Civil War, Congress needed to overturn the infamous Dred Scott decision that said that any Black person, free or enslaved, could not be citizens of the United States. So the 14th Amendment made it plain. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdictions thereof are citizens. This wasn't an amendment just made for Black people, but to help all groups by defining citizenship and protecting freedom, a right that used to be denied to a lot of groups. Because let's just say that defining citizenship before the 14th Amendment in the United States was discombobulated and discriminatory. Citizenship was usually defined by each state and by the concept of birthright citizenship that we inherited from British common law, but it wasn't applied equally. Then came the Naturalization Act of 1790, which granted citizenship to free white people. So Native Americans excluded. Black people, free or enslaved, yeah, definitely excluded. And if the outcome of the 1790 Naturalization Act didn't make citizenship clear, the Dred Scott case would for Black people. Honestly, it made it worse, declaring us not citizens and saying that we were not entitled to citizenship, period. hence the 14th Amendment after the Civil War. And after the ratification of the 14th Amendment, birthright citizenship would still be questioned in 1898. This time in a Supreme Court case called United States versus Wong Kim Ark. This is where the Supreme Court ruled that regardless of any parent's citizenship, if a child is born in the United States, they are a citizen of the United States. That precedent has stood for over 125 years and now is being challenged.
When I say this, birthright means you need to be born in order to have the right of birthright. Unborn babies are not born, so they can't legally be considered citizens because they're not born and alive on the soil. I know that's a hard concept for you to grasp, but that's what birthright citizenship means, my dear. MAGA and the right love pushing these regurgitated talking points as it relates to the very foundation of the things Black people have fought for in this country.
An Alabama GOP leader just said he hopes the Supreme Court of the United States overturns the 14th Amendment. And if you don't understand why that statement is absolutely horrifying to constitutional scholars, civil rights activists, and millions of Americans, we need to talk about what the 14th Amendment actually is, the history of it, and what it accomplished. The 14th Amendment is arguably one of the most important amendments in American history. It was ratified in 1868 after the Civil War. Before the 14th Amendment, formerly enslaved Black Americans technically had been freed by the 13th Amendment, but Southern states immediately started designing laws to strip them of rights anyways. These were called the Black Codes. Black Americans had no legal protections, no voting rights, no basic citizenship protections, not even property rights. And many states basically were just continuing slavery just under a different name.
So ladies and gentlemen, I'm trusting that you're all doing well today and you are welcome to the channel. So guys, a lot has been happening lately and people are trying so hard. Okay, let us trace it back. So in the beginning of this year, you've all seen how we had massive deportation from the United States of America. And this is something that brought fear to a lot of people because the ICE didn't really care if you had rights to be, or rather to be in the US as a citizen, or maybe working, you have a working contract, something like that. But then again, you have seen what they brought to the parliament currently. So they're trying to challenge the 14th Amendment. You know, the 14th Amendment protects the birthright and actually advocates for equal rights within the citizens of the United States of America. So most of the time, like we normally tell ourselves that if it was about deportation or rather taking Black people out of the United States of America, it would have happened long time ago. But now the question that everybody is asking, like, if you decide to take them out, which African country are you going to take them? And you know, like, this is brought about, I would say, like, because of the excellence, the Black excellence that most Blacks in America, they're really well off. And then again, also people would argue about the works and all that. And having in mind that you have seen how the United States of America has progressed in terms of industrialization, education, healthcare sector, and all that. So initially, the Black people were not even permitted to work in such sectors, because you've seen the previous video that I did about farmers, you know, like crying right now because they do not have workers. The people in the United States of America have been colonized like minds, like they were brainwashed. They were told that this kind of work belongs to a Black person. If you want to work in a plantation, that is something that belongs to a white person. That is something that only a white person can do. And now it is coming to their shock that after the mass deportation, Black people do not want to work for them. And right now they are in the parliament challenging the 14th Amendment. They want actually to change it so that it doesn't protect the Black people in America. And I'm like, okay, fine. If we are talking about citizenship, birthrights, and all that, up to now, most people who are in America, I would say, like the Black people, they were born there, they've done a lot of stuff there. So maybe if you were to do this deportation, you would consider it maybe back then when maybe the grandparents and all that were doing all that. But in the end of the day, you find that this is not something that is accepted. They're trying it by all means to deport, or rather to make black people go out of the United States of America. I don't know for what reasons, but ladies and gentlemen, just in case you're new here, my name is Yvonne and you're welcome to being part of my online family. Please, the only way that you can support me is by subscribing to this amazing channel so that you can be able to get one of my videos whenever I post. And that was it for today. Leave your comment down below. Let me know what you think about this particular topic. Let me know how you feel about it, and until next time.